Meccano, part number P31, wing strut spar. Stay. Hi folks and welcome back. It's strange to be sat here writing this script with thoughts of the vast coldness of space. And here I am on a warm August day in a none too hostile England, thinking about the act of piracy in the vast empty nothingness of the cosmos. And I will be honest enough to say that when I thought to myself, what the hell am I going to write about this week on the topic of the cosmic pirate, I had to laugh at myself. My English teacher would be dying of laughter as well by now, if she knew that I was faced with the task, the self-imposed task, of writing an essay each week on a random topic of around 2,000 words. All I can say is thank the good Lord for a fertile imagination, the internet and a computer. But it did get me thinking, what law do we have in place when it comes to space? After all, we must have some. And it is the Outer Space Treaty, and it was first considered in 1966. And here is the insane part. Thinking of the geopolitics of the era, it was agreed to in the same year and came into operation in 1967 and has since been built upon. And the first three signing bodies in 1966, the United States of America, the United Kingdom and the USSR. It covers many things to help protect the celestial bodies of our galaxy, forbids the placing of nuclear weapons in orbit or any weapons of mass destruction on any celestial body, space station, or anywhere in space in any other form. And that's a bit like your mum saying, "Go on, I dare you." And you just know that if you do, you will lose. The 9 sections laid out in the treaty make it very clear what is and what is not allowed to happen, and has helped to keep space a safe area for the last 6 decades, free from politics and nasty capitalist companies only trying to cash in on a quick buck. Because let's do the maths here. At some point it will go south and space will try to kill you. And that's this week's movie quote. The treaty also lays out 2 other points. One, that any state is responsible for any spacecraft that is in space, whether it is a government-backed project or private. That the nation will be responsible for any damage that occurs from an incident with that spacecraft. It leaves out the bit where, if it's not a government-backed project, you're probably going to go to prison for the rest of your life if it's your project that had an incident in space, on Earth, or anywhere else for that matter. And also that any property in space remains the property of the state that placed it there. Again, whether that's a government project or private. And here's a funny bit, the bit that refers back to what this build is, a cosmic pirate. Under admiralty law, if you remove any property that belongs to another nation or state, it is an act of piracy. A French-backed company had the idea not long ago of removing the junk in orbit, which is a great idea, apart from that it doesn't belong to the person who salvages it. At this point, I am assuming that the use of maritime law was referred to when the Space Treaty was first designed, as the laws have been fought over for hundreds of years and are now well established. In the end, the company didn't, or hasn't to date, started to retrieve items in orbit. But have you noticed that pirates in general have a colourful romance in our culture? After all, I doubt it has anything lovable about a pirate in reality. But when has fiction and reality ever had much in common? The pirate, in modern media, fulfills the role of the anti-hero, which was a Greek invention. At first, the anti-hero was a person who will speak the truth, but is hideous to look at and is deformed, and by speaking the truth, they are persecuted and beaten. By the 18th century, the anti-hero had become a doppelganger, a person of double personality. This has helped to cement the idea of the dark triad of personality traits in the character. And by the 20th century, the anti-hero had become a person who would do good deeds out of a sense of honour to their friends, but not to the greater good of everybody. In Star Wars, Han Solo's character helps the Rebel Alliance, not so much out of a sense of supporting the greater good, but that for once he's found friends in a universe where you either use people or people use you. And the character of Chewbacca is perfect as his moral compass, where in a number of places he's challenged by Chewie to assist the Alliance in their goals, and grudgingly Han complies, complaining that he was going to anyway, but he just doesn't like being told what to do. And as if hand in hand with the anti-hero pirate is the ship they travel in. And few ships are as iconic as the Millennium Falcon, designed and built in around 4 weeks by Joe Johnston. And not that I think Mr. Johnson will ever watch the video, but thank you for the inspiration that the shape and what the Falcon represented to an impressionable young mind meant to me, and what this form created by you has given me throughout my life. George Lucas's first inspiration and model was more elongated than that of Joe Johnston's design, and when finished resembled an eagle from Space 1999. The original model would go on to be Princess Leia's ship Tantive 4, which we see in the opening sections of the New Hope movie. The new design was referred to as a hamburger with an olive on the side cockpit. The Millennium Falcon is a YT-1300 light freighter made by the Corellian Engineering Corporation and was based around 3 core types: the P model, the F model, the one the Falcon was heavily modified from, and the FP model. The P models were designed primarily to transport passengers with a reduced cargo load capacity. The F model was the opposite, designed with the view of transporting freight. And the FP was an attempt to get the balance between the two. The other strength of the YP-1300 was its ability to act as a pusher tug for cargo pods. Like a space-going forklift truck, the pods were secured between the 2 front mandibles. Once secure, the ship's shields would help lock the pods in place. Used both in orbital space dock and as transport for goods to outer rim territories, the YT-1300 had made a name for itself, even across its very long lifetime. Admiral Kendall Ozell was quoted as saying there were literally thousands of YT-1300s across the galaxy, and with a price tag of 100,000 credits new, and second-hand ships going for 25,000 or more, you can see why the ship is still a favourite for both cargo captains and smugglers alike. But it will remain a firm icon of the Star Wars universe, a creation by a gifted and talented model maker, given the impossible task restraints of 4 weeks to build a shape that even people who are non-Star Wars fans can recognise. But what if I told you that Harrison Ford was not the intended actor for the role of Han Solo? He was asked to attend the reading for the role purely to feed the lines to the intended actors, Kurt Russell, Christopher Walken, and Nick Nolte, amongst others. In fact, he'd arrived on set that day to make a door, doing his day job of carpentry. Rumour has it he was so laid back and uninterested in the other actors and what was going on around him that it soon became apparent to one and all that Han Solo was reading the wrong lines. The thought that Kurt Russell could have played Han Solo, Dustin Hoffman the role of Rick Deckard, and Tom Selleck Indiana Jones just seems so wrong. And while they are all great actors, Ford has brought so much more to the roles than I think they would have. Of all the events that Star Wars and Star Trek have managed to establish, it's the need for the lore behind the storyline. Both franchises have helped projects that have come later to build the backstory. And it is that backstory that helps to make the saga more believable. After all, researching this, I can get the facts as they are about the Carillion Engineering Corporation, their operations in the Old Republic, the state ownership under the Galactic Empire and the First Order, the links between what was written in notes that has made its way onto the internet with fan-built encyclopedias, the published works in either book form or that of magazines, all help to build a web of knowledge that is such a help to the poor scriptwriter that has to somehow craft a story out of thin air on the cosmic pirate. Probably my only complaint is how long these scripts take to write, or maybe that is more of a lack of faith in myself, because they are definitely a longer period on my desk. Thank the Lord, my next script's about an aeroplane that I can find stuff to write about. And for those of you who have ever wondered the engine noises of the Falcon, or those of a DC-9, layered twice with a second engine just out of phase, giving the wonderful sound of the sub-light engine noises that we hear in the movies.